All right, Cam, thanks for making time.
Of course, my pleasure. No problem. One second. Let me just.
So we connected on social, and
We have connected on LinkedIn, I believe. Yes, correct.
yeah, I saw a little bit about what it is that you were up to. I didn't dive too far in, but I saw that you were CEO of a project having to do with NFTs and events, and so I thought, you know what? Um, in the space, I feel like community building is one of the most important things that can happen. So I want to connect with people that are building communities and collaborating. So it
Of
seems like
course,
you might be the type of person that is doing that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, tell you a little bit about what I do and what we do. So I have a creative cocktail and art and entertainment brand called Cocktail Connoisseur by the Volatile Project. Volatile Project is the company basically, and Cocktail Connoisseur is a brand. It's a kind of a brainchild of pandemic time when our previous concept before pandemic could not happen because of pandemic, which was more of a creative space where art will come into the space of hospitality and entertainment in a way, in a natural, uniform, connected way. But then after that, we kind of pivoted to looking at more technology, things that allow us to bring that same experience, whether it's art, cocktail, or anything, as a connected experience towards delivery, technology, like in person, without the presence, events, pop-ups, etc. As part of our kind of brand development over the last maybe year and a half, because we work with a lot of artists in our cocktail kind of side of the business, it kind of evolved on its own to be this kind of a you know entertaining unconventional art gallery model. So what we start doing is I work with different artists of different categories and NFT artists as well, of course, which is probably the biggest chunk of all. And we kind of like replicate or even elevate the experience of a art exhibition in a way with adding a creative cycle in a full controllable loop of an event, which is also fun, party oriented, and entertaining. So people come to an event that we develop. Let's say I'm doing an NFT gala, right? We did a series of NFT gala parties. That another one of them is going to be at the end of August in Art Gallery, Vancouver. What we do, we kind of make a roster of artists as the main act. So the NFT artist would be the main act in this event, for example, right? And then we create a basically cycle through adding other elements to it. One element is music, one element is the design and the space and the whole natural kind of like the decor in a way, or scenery, whatever you want to call it, or interior design. Another element is the food and beverage, a lot more with cocktails. And what we do, we set up a kind of an immersive pathway through which you see the art and talk to artists, and with the cocktails, for example, reflect on the inspiration of the artist. There's a show and the whole thing, and people get drunk also, and there's music, so it kind of makes it fun. So people come into this and don't leave; they stay there for 5 hours, and they engage with the artist, they engage with the art, they learn. People who are in this space come network with each other. People who are new come learn. People who are designers and entrepreneurs come and see. So there's like a whole, instead of having a little conference or trade show or an art gallery, we combine the presentation of it with a fun, entertaining, artistic loop, right? Where in the midst of it, you kind of get lost and you just have fun also. And kind of that experience stays with you, right? So as you repeat that, you build a new community, you expand the community, you add knowledge and awareness, plus you actually connect people who need to be connected naturally along the way. Then another thing that we have been doing is basically my products that actually are in California and in DC as well, but actually the retail stuff are in California more than here. For example, we do ready to drink cocktail lineup, limited edition. We work with local distillery, we develop recipes and everything, but we work with the artists, so the labels are NFTs always. So anything we do, there's like some sort of a art, exhibition connected to it, and a lot more NFTs than anything else. And we again create a narrative and reflect on the whole cycle with the four pieces, for example, that is going, let's say, doing four labels for one release, right? They're all four NFTs from a collection of one artist that there's a story behind it. We develop another narrative based on that and develop the cocktails and the whole experience. on that basis. And then when it's released, obviously the people who need to know that in the press release and the event and the launch party, they get to experience that. And then people who just see something cool and shiny on the shelf and buy it, they still get exposed when they buy the bottle. They see, oh, what is this? It's NFT. There's a QR code. Let me go. Who's to start this? Blah blah blah. Right. So it's a new way of generating awareness and connections and community in the world by connecting the art and entertainment together and using our niche passion of element, which is the cocktails and alcohol, in a way, injecting that into it very carefully and with a lot of well placed timing and everything. So yeah, that's kind of how we've gone far in the last year, got into the NFT space. We have our brand has an NFT collection that is being released soon in the next 3 months. We're just kind of timing it perfectly based on all the other activities we do. We do work with a lot of NFT artists. We have a lot of NFT partners that would like to collaborate with for different things. And we do see a lot of potential in the whole connecting the metaverse, Web2 and Web3 actually together. And in our world with the cocktail and arts and entertainment and events, that's another channel for the next year that we're considering, basically connecting the Web2 and Web3 together using utilities for going to events, selling the tickets to the events as NFTs. The products are NFT connected, right? So basically injecting that properly and simply in a way that is more understandable for a newbie in the space to capture.
Gotcha. And when you say the products are NFT connected, is that this new term I keep hearing, phygital?
No. NFT, I think, like I told you, for example, our ready-to-drink cocktail lineup that is sold in liquor stores in California, the labels, the whole story behind the collection is limited edition are the NFTs that are the label. So when you go to the liquor store, you only see a black bottle that has a piece of art in front of it, right? That's the NFT. Another product is if you're, for example, selling a ticket to our event, that ticket is an NFT, right? So we're connecting with the utilities and the concept, not just the concept, but sometimes the utility, sometimes the concept, sometimes both. Two different. So products are tied to a sort of an NFT piece or an NFT collection, and they could be purchased or released or used or vice versa, or depends on the model and the event and the stuff.
Gotcha.
So the product is not digital. We're actually in the physical space and trying to connect that space to the physical space in a way that is meaningful for the people who are not necessarily very educated in it. One effort that I see the potential in is one big thing for us is to bring exposure to as many people on the basic level as possible. Because when people on the street are talking about it, you know what I mean? And they get a hold of it, they are exposed to it, they are forced into talking about it without being felt like I'm forced into this. That's when suddenly a bigger wave is gonna kick off, right? And it's gonna go on. And that's one of the angles that we're basically shooting for.
Gotcha. So how long have you been doing this for?
Almost a year now. Almost a year now. Yes.
Okay, but I would imagine you were already doing some kind of community building before this, right?
Of course.
It seems like.
Of course, always. Yeah. Of course. Within this specific kind of model and the products and the NFT connected ties to it, it's about a year. And everything was more on the organic side. Like we start with, okay, we're trying to build, a connection between arts and entertainment and release products that reflect on that and are fun. And then slowly, working with artists became a thing, and then NFT as art became a thing, and the whole thing slowly evolved into let's build a community around that. And it's not really exclusive in the community building for us. We really believe in, yes, of course, there are different channels, different spaces, different things that we tackle and we work with, right? And every part, there are kind of like a collaborative elements for different communities. You might have people from, certain different communities coming to one event or buy one product or be the customer for one thing. Whereas on the surface, it might not be connected or they might be far from each other in a way. But really, those elements, when you kind of dig deeper into experience and art and use that as the connection between all the path for everybody, that's when you get a lot more common space in the, common platform for all these different communities also to get involved, right, in one space.
Gotcha. So some of the elements you were mentioning that you add into for this NFT would be like almost like an immersive experience, right? Because you have music,
True.
you got the art, you maybe a beverage if you're at a physical event, and
Cocktails, yes, food sometimes, sometimes it's the design, sometimes it's the nature. We do an event in a more nature scenery space, and then you connect the elements because nature is one of the biggest beautiful art pieces ever existed. So you inject that as a base into this creative cycle. We basically develop a creative cycle loosely around the narrative, and we adjust these elements in such a way that sometimes one of them is the diva and has to be the main element. The rest are the supporting elements. Sometimes no, there are two or three elements that are kind of working hand in hand. But it is an immersive. It's a modern immersive experience. We also work in LA quite a bit in a few projects and have products and stuff coming out. And over there, people use the word immersive a lot more interesting. They use it more for engaging with the audience live than being immersed into a guided experience. But both of them are sort of immersive. We right now focus more on having a freedom in a guided experience, a free guided experience where we design and present you the elements and guide you loosely through it without forcing you into the path, right?
yeah. When you say guided, so one thing that comes to mind, and this may not be part of it, but I was interviewing a writer for Marvel. He's also an executive producer for Cartoon Network, and he was telling me about storytelling and NFTs, and being able to basically, because when you have like a storytelling experience connected with an NFT, it becomes, I mean, that's part of the immersiveness, right?
Yeah.
Are you seeing that yet? Like, is that starting to happen in your
That
space?
slowly, in fact, we are the leaders of that in space that we're working in a way. I haven't seen that many other people focusing on that. We do love to develop the stories, the narrative that I was telling you. So we're taking an artist and an artist story, right, or inspiration of an artist, whether it's an NFT artist or a fashion designer or both, for example, right? Then we know the inspiration. We get to learn about the pieces, the milestones, what you did, what you achieved, what you were, what was your trigger, and then we try to develop another story on top of that that fits within that show that we're presenting in a way, right? Or that event that people are gonna go through. But it's set in such a way that you're kind of like touching on all the points that are the triggers for the inspiration of the artist and the story of the artist, with adding a little bit more, you know, like a creativity into making it a funner story. Like, it's like you're building a novel based on a real story in a way, right? Think that way. But these are smaller stories just to get people engaged and interested into the whole path in an event, right? Some people, sometimes you come to an event or a party and say, "Oh, this is an NFT. This is what we advertise." Our NFT gala parties are, very unique. Those are kind of like a receptionist style of a party. People come and then they realize, oh, so when they come at the door, we say, "Hey, so tonight we're presenting four different artists." You see, there are stations, there are physical pieces all around the room, well presented, as well as there's an NFT LED ball that goes on a loop of each of the artists. So we set up stations for cocktails, immersive cocktails, beside each of the artists. And we say, what you do, you can buy tickets for one item to release, and then each ticket gives you a cocktail, for example. You go from one station to another. The person behind the station tells you about the story and why it is paired with the experience of the artist. And naturally, the artist is there, so you can actually get engaged and talk to the artist about their inspiration as you're sipping on this drink, which was you were told because of so and so reflects on that experience. And suddenly, as you're going through, the music is back in the backbone, right? Kind of complementing this whole cycle as you go through it. And then other people are there, so you get engaged talking to somebody else who was, for example, into NFT space and did something similar, and then you're talking to them, and this whole thing keeps going. The idea is to don't let people go, keep them there. Show this to them more than half an hour. You know, keep repeating them is also a skill technique, right? That repetition makes people, understand things better, memorize things better, like inhale it better in a way, right? So that's kind of like one example of how this is done, right? But honestly, we haven't seen anybody else in that space kind of like doing stuff like this. People do events, people do networking events. Maybe they design a food around it, something, but it's pretty minimal at this point. Like it's and the reason is you need a crew of multi, disciplinary creatives to be able to pull this together without making it too stuffy. Right?
Or a good team where you can just say, hey, I'll handle this. I'll handle this stack. You handle that stack. Let's
Yeah.
create something amazing. Because I could imagine with what you're doing right now. I mean, it's something that's needed everywhere, and there are other people that are doing NFT events and art galleries and things like that. But if you're locking it down with like storytelling, NFTs, and then the artist is there, of course, and the person gets to connect with the artist and then really understand, then they have like more of a connection to the art as well, not just the artist, but the
Exactly.
art.
Exactly. It's more about really getting people to feel comfortable with seeing art, whether digital or physical, right? I mean, physical art is even worse because you go to a gallery, you see, look at this, okay, 10 seconds later, bye. I don't think you can capture the essence of somebody's like inspiration in 10 seconds of looking at the painting. You know what I mean? But the thing is, we're not even trying to get them to do. Of course, you're looking at a piece of painting, is not enough sensory outlets triggered at that time to give you more information. We're not just giving them any information. Like, we're living, oh, you look at this painting and hopefully you figure it out, right? And don't think 99% of people are not going to figure it out, right? And then just because of lack of, it's like kind of lousy, right? I mean, classic art galleries are kind of a lousy way to show art. It's just showing it. There is no effort to try to connect people to really dig deeper and to feel something, or like like look after the triggers or inspiration or the story. There is no story. You go to an art gallery of a single artist and all the pieces are their piece. There has been no effort done most of the times to even create a story. It's your own story. It's all your show. Why don't you just create something that people could go through A to Z, right? It's never done. Like, I don't know why. I mean, good question. Maybe that the traditional model has not been really concerned about this. It was always more about, oh, I have a show in this venue. The venue is the defining point. If you have a show at this gallery, that means it's high end. So that gallery has clientele that come to the gallery and see your work, rather than you bring people who are not your customer or clientele and try to make them your clientele by telling them the story of what you did, your creative force, right?
Do you find that after starting this business and being a connector with those artists and are also investors in art, do you find that your network has grown like a lot or a
Yeah,
little?
yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a build up, right? And I mean, Vancouver is a place that it's a limited audience for everything, right? It's not a mega city; it's a small south city, so we have to be mindful of the fact that there's just not too many people for everything. So you have limited amount of people. So within that constraint and context, every time, yes, over the last year with different events, especially the more NFT focused ones, we definitely see the growth in the audience that are relevant in those events. Some people we drag them because of the other elements, right? And they're coming, which is good. Now we expose them to the NFTs as well and all that. But some people come because in their space and they're interested. We see definitely this shift in the audiences slowly. In the last event we did, the NFT one, it was a big event, over 300 people, and over 200 people were people active in the NFT space in Vancouver, from creators, collectors, digital creators, investors, people who have projects, people who are interested in projects, people who have something to do with it, right? People who are entrepreneurs working on platforms for utilities, blah, blah, blah. So that was good to see. And that was a good, I would say, shift from the very first NFT event. We did an event which was like a rave NFT, where the NFTs were the visuals that are synced with the music, like a more Burning Man style of immersive experience. So, we see that style as well. But in those events, you see a lot of people come for the music, maybe, right? But yeah, we're kind of like decoding the experience and trying to make it more efficient and more customized for the right audience, right? And filter the audience through basically and make it more and more targeted in a way, right? And build that community around that, exactly as you said.
Do
But
you have,
it's a step by step process, right? It's not overnight.
gotcha. Is this pretty much all like an in-person community, or do you have an online community that you've created as well?
It's been a lot more in person for now, but we are hoping to expand that to the online community as well. Haven't been too much into that yet. Like our Discord is very minimal. We have some audience, not really haven't tried to make it bigger yet. But it's because we're also holding our own collection to come out. So there's been so many other stuff going on this summer that there's just been limited time and attention to put for different channels. But that's definitely something that over the next 6 months to a year we're actually focusing on as well. But the in-person events right now, because of the whole pandemic during the last 2 years also, and because of the delicacy of the fact that the whole metaverse community space around NFTs are more digital, and that's why some of the draws lie in the digital space, being digital, and some of the back draws I think also lies in there, right? So we're kind of trying to fill the gap in a way and tell people, hey, don't be scared. We can touch NFT could be also printed. This is a physical thing. You can see, hi, it's an art. There's an artist behind it. Somebody's like a painting, right? Like, don't be scared. You can buy it as easy as you go to your, bank app, right? Like that's kind of some of the, I would say, hurdles, right, that we've seen in the last year people have towards NFT and being exposed to it. So that's kind of like an advantage of the in person as well.
In your experience, when you hold an event and the consumers, the people that show up, what percentage would you say are like your OGs versus people that are interested in NFTs but don't own an NFT and they're there because they want to learn more? Or like, is there
Yeah,
like a,
yeah. I think maybe it was first couple of events. Maybe it was more 80% new, 20 OG. In the last event that I was telling you, like as we grew it, the last NFT we did was maybe a 50-50. It was actually great. It was like you could see the shift and transition. And part of it is also the nature of the whole progression in the world right now, right? There's more people into NFTs every day, right? So it's a pretty growing space. And we have another event, as I said, if you're in Vancouver, right?
no, I'm in Utah.
Oh, in Utah. You're in Utah, US. Okay, I thought you were in Canada. Yeah, yeah, nice. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and Los Angeles. This is my kind of home bases. I'm not back and forth with both parts of the business. We did this event. We have another one coming actually August 27th. It's actually that one. I'm hoping to see a 70-30, like a massive shift towards actual NFT space. People who are into NFT already have one, are excited, they're there to do something, to meet somebody, to find something, right? But 50-50 is still a pretty good, I think, balance. Because again, you want to expand the community, right? That's part of it. You want new people to come in.
So there are a lot of creative artists out there that have really great ideas, and they you might call them underground. They're just not out there yet.
Yeah,
What advice would
yeah.
you give to those underground artists that that want to start coming out?
Don't be scared. Just go at it. And if first time, second time, your hurdles and stuff, go through it. Be open to meeting people and just keep going. Because every step of the way, you learn something. And by not doing stuff, you're not going to learn. At the end of the day, you got to do things. There's so much research you could put through and preparations, but until you get down and dirty and do things, you're not going to get it.
Do you think that for artists that don't have the NFT part down yet, like they have other art down, but they don't have like the
Mhm.
digital piece yet, like what would you say to those people?
Um, I honestly say it's as simple as trying it, registering with the platform, and just do one for trial, even if you don't have faith in it or you're scared or whatever, or for whatever reason, and see how it goes. Like just do one to see how simple it is, and kind of slowly as you're doing it, I think they learn, right? And once they learn, they suddenly see there is opportunity. There's at the base phone, there is a lot of financial or exposure opportunities that could turn into something financial. And I think this is a very normal progression for all the artists as they're going through it. And some people are just, against it, and that's fine. They're always haters, and lovers and fandom and all of that stuff. But it's just a matter of doing it. As I said, I think it's the same thing with the audience and the artist. It's just the biggest hurdle is to do it. Just try it, see, it doesn't bite you, and then you go from there.
I like it. Don't be scared. Do it. Like do an NFT, and there will be opportunity that'll come from it.
Exactly. And then because once you do it, then you talk to people who are doing it, then you have to learn a little bit. That pushes you into networking with some other people, learning about some other artists. And it's kind of like an organic process that once you do it, you kind of like naturally kind of flow into it.
Now that you've done these events, like, are you finding that it's getting easier and easier to do the events? Is it getting more hectic?
With the NFT space, definitely. I mean, because we try to always add other elements to it as well. So it's not just like an NFT meetup or anything, right? It is in a way, but it's not really, right? We invite people who are not in NFT sometimes, right, to come and see what's going on. It's definitely getting easier. Like using the word NFT in the title of an event was a little scary before that. Oh, I need to still sell tickets to recover my cost. I need to still bring people to showcase this, right? But I think now it's getting definitely a lot easier. Like we're very comfortable holding an NFT immersive event as we do, sell easily 200 tickets and invite another 200 people as guests, as a special guest, and have a 400 people event in a mid-sized city, not even in the mega city. I think that shows it's getting there pretty easily.
Yeah, you're catching some traction. That's pretty good. It's a lot of people
Exactly.
showing up.
There's a lot of people showing up, and every person matters. Every person is there, hears the term, talks to people, learns something. At the worst case, they come in and realize, oh, what's going on in this city, in this space? Who are these people? Right? Who's the artists that are thriving right now? Who are people who are selling? Who are people who have new projects coming out?
I think there's a lot of community builders out there, but they just may be a little apprehensive about how to build a community in a new space that they don't know a lot about. Because NFTs, I ask all the time, are you an expert? And people are like, no. And anyone that says they are, they're lying, because it's such a new space. And so I think that
Yeah.
people are apprehensive about like starting to and creating these events. But what advice would you give those people that are kind of like you, that actually already went out there and did it, but
Yeah.
they have the potential to do it? What would you tell them to do?
But you don't need to be an expert to build a community first of all, right? You need to be an expert in NFTs to build a community for NFTs. You need to be an expert in community building, which has nothing to do with NFT or anything else. Community building is a simple social technique and necessity of business, art, entertainment, human interaction, all of them at the same time. And NFTs happen to be right now the space that I enjoy, touch base sometimes here and there, and a lot more every day. And I think it's an opportunity for people to explore how you can inject art into other platforms. For me, that was the trigger, right? Because I haven't and what we call an art inspired creative cocktail art and entertainment business. The art inspiration in a product that is retail was something that we always wanted to do. Now with NFTs, there's an opportunity to really close this loop and create an experience in product. And before it wasn't, right? Before, you're missing something. Even if I'm paying an artist to do a label for me, it stays there. But if I can now, this label can be scan on the QR code and goes and buy something. You know what I mean? You're adding a whole experience on top of just having a piece of art shown on a bottle, for example. That's what I like, and I think the inspiration is that we can use NFTs to inject the power and beauty of art into other platforms, other industries, other products, other experiences. And once you do that, the art benefits, the community benefits, the product seller benefits, everybody benefits out of it. It's a like no brainer for everybody.
Gotcha, man. I love it. I love the advice. My next call is actually starting right now. It's 3 o'clock
All
my
right.
time. I want to connect with you again about some
Sure.
community building stuff, because I think that what you're already doing now, I mean, it's just going to keep growing. And I think other
Yeah,
people would want to
100%.
follow in your footsteps and do things like you. Who knows? You might be able to license something, your brand, or be
Of
able to
course,
create events. Who
absolutely.
knows?
100%. I would love to. Yeah, let's keep in touch. Just let me know. We can have a chat anytime, and I'm happy to share as our experience also grows and we see new things and do new things. Always love to share more details about things that are coming up and changing and evolving in a better way for you.
It's been a pleasure, Cam. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks so much. Have a good one.